you ever stop to think about dying? Yes? No? Whatever. A moment of introspect, if you will. The idea of death is terrifying to some, not necessarily out of fear of it, but out of the fear of the unknown. For obvious reasons, nobody knows what happens after death aside from rigor mortis, followed by decomposition. Therefore, merely thinking about dying can be considered scary, even if it's a natural process. Why? Because it's a mystery. There are good mysteries, such as a close relative revealing they have a surprise for you, and there are bad mysteries, such as returning from a long voyage and finding your village has been burned to the ground. Death is neither of these, and since it's already unknown territory for us all, you can conclude that simple fear of death is attributed to the brain's natural response of avoiding unfamiliarity. A simple explanation, is it not? On the other hand, others fear death because it entails misery, purely because, as the opposite of life, it's heavily associated with pain and suffering. I hate interruptions. But back on topic. That, my darlings, is what confounds me. What is pain? How do you define pain? Is it for the father, who will be kept forever waiting for the return of his son from war? No, for it is during peace that sons bury fathers, but during war that fathers bury sons. Is it that which occurs when you watch your lover of countless summers on her last breath, slowly losing her grip on life? No, for it is love which closest resembles a flame. From nothing becomes a spark, and said spark turn into flame. But not like any fire. It will eventually be snuffed out. Is it when you find gutter scum with no family, no home, and no sense of self on your metaphorical doorstep and steal them away? No, for nobody would weep for such nameless children to begin with. It's a surprisingly convoluted thing to question, because all of that is simple moral hypothesizing, aside from the fact that, although everyone experiences pain, not everyone does so in the same way. Thus, trying to tie people together with a shared connection is utterly pointless. It would be like trying to describe color to a born blind person. Impossible and simply useless. Shut up! To the common man, pain is something experienced during moments of emotional vulnerability, or stress, or some other equally irreverent behavior. To us, however, pain is a neuropsychological phenomenon which, in particular applications, causes a being to cease normal behaviors and brainwave patterns, ultimately reverting to a subconscious but more primal condition. It goes without saying, science is what drives us, and we cannot learn without growing. And we cannot grow if we cannot be willing to exchange something in return, whether it be blood or time. This is the creed of our civilization, one which we were born learning and will die upholding. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Vega, Dr. Vega. My objective today is to annotate my observations of this supposed Warframe prototype that was put together recently. Because after the third operator suffered an aneurysm mere seconds after activation, suddenly the eggheads at the engineering department are curious if their framework is simply too strenuous, or if they simply had a bad batch of pilots. And so that is why I am here today, to be the official determinant, so to speak. Today's subject operator is having been recovered from the Zariman 10-0 voyage alongside her twin sister, both of them being swiftly isolated for evaluation due to void exposure. The one standing before us today was diagnosed by medical personnel with intermittent explosive disorder, but has regardless still been declared fit for duty. Her sister, on the other hand, remains isolated and is currently undergoing extensive mental treatment due to being diagnosed with PTSD, schizophrenia, and a newly discovered fascination with blood. More precisely, her own blood, and how fast she can watch it flow. Now playing the latest recording. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I'm sorry. Treatment has been progressing at an unfavorable rate, but the council is insistent on her recovery. Primarily because she is the current candidate operator for the Garunda platform. This suggests that being tainted by the void has deeper effects on one's psyche than simply just becoming a wielder of otherworldly powers. For this very reason, they both were handpicked to serve as test operators on projects that the council considers to be demanding on the pilot. Anyway, I shall begin paraphrasing the schematics I've been given. I should clarify I'm simply reading what I've been given here. I don't really care about this drivel that those eunuchs at the engineering department put together. Attribute 1, Adrenaline. Valkyr is unique in that she possesses chemical and electrical injectors within the hardware intermingled within her internal invested. This is important because a constant stimulus, whether it be external via gunshots, or internal via chemical or electrical affliction, a perpetual state of pain is ensured. For instance, Valkyr is constantly supplied with a slow dosage of hydromorphone. This particular concoction dulls minor impact-related injuries, mostly those acquired through falling or being knocked down. As a result, operators will experience significantly faster recovery time compared to the other Warframes when it comes to landing from very high altitudes or being swept off their feet. On the occasion that is not enough, Valkyr is equipped with a cord composed of a specialized polymer, being 18 times stronger than steel, while remaining light enough to float on water and not hinder the movement of the Warframe itself. The operator may utilize this cord to pull themselves for safety, or for more aggressive purposes, pull enemies towards them. Due to the cord itself having a wind-up activation, consecutive use of the cord will result in more potency with less energy requirements. Personally, I don't think it's worth a damn, but whatever. There's also the option to equip the VIP supplementary module, which will... Yeah, I'm not reading this. This is garbage. Next. Attribute 2, Aggravation. Shut up! Tell the eggheads to bring in another one. Anyways, Valkyr is also capable of somewhat inducing aggressive behavior in friendly targets via screaming. To the untrained ear, this sounds like a simple intimidation maneuver, not unlike a common beast. However, beneath that simple screech is an almost inaudible command delivered to all nearby Warframes. This command is picked up by audio receptors on any and all allied Warframes, which, simply put, orders them to fight harder. It's common to hear the cry of Valkyr and assume she is merely angry, but no. Usually that means she's angry and is bringing friends. Additionally, she has the option of equipping the Eternal supplementary module, which extends the duration of Valkyr's speech command every time she slays an opponent with non-firearms. Given that Valkyr is not a complicated Warframe in terms of Eternals, all she really does is continue killing so long as ample bodies are provided for her. To supply this bloodlust, the Eternal supplementary module allows her to continue fighting at her peak, so long as she can continue killing. It should also be noted that the amount of time extension granted via killing is affected by duration-enhancing modules. So operators with a desire for long-lasting operations should consider this option. Relatively simple, is it not? Attribute 3, Shell Shock. Should the operator choose to, they may overload Valkyr's existing shields to the point of expulsion, causing her overstressed circuitry to release its current, so to speak. This immobilizes any hostile target within the vicinity, as a sudden discharge is enough to severely affect the motor functions of living targets and the targeting functions of non-living targets. However, with the prolonged supplementary mode, this expulsion is affected. When equipped, enemies affected by Valkyr's shield discharge start being pulled towards her via electromagnetism. This is not a fast process, meaning that it is not very useful for field operation unless operators wish to keep their enemies pacified as long as possible, which on a killer like Valkyr is sort of redundant, but whatever. Attribute 4, Delirium. Upon command, a dosage of methylene dioxypyrovalerone, MDPV, is delivered throughout Valkyr's system. This causes significant effects. Namely, Valkyr's internals are tricked into becoming able to take more damage than would normally be possible. This is achieved by scrambling the link between pain receptors and circuits within the Warframe, and by manipulating the operator's mental state in a process known as reverse transference. For more details on reverse transference, please consult documents SRF 88-1 and SRF 88-2. Once this is accomplished, energy supply is actively drained in order to properly maintain this state, until manually deactivated or no more energy is available. However, this is not without drawbacks. Note that Valkyr is not granted true immunity, meaning she technically still takes damage even when this aggressive state is active. Deactivating this in the middle of a fight will of course cause Valkyr to receive damage she has taken previously, which, if too high, is likely to be fatal. This can be bypassed by simply hiding or taking cover before deactivation, so long as enemies are not nearby. This comes with 2 supplementary modules, Enraged and Assault. Assault allows Valkyr to quite literally pounce onto any enemy within line of sight, making it useful for rapid movement or slaughtering as many enemies as possible, regardless of distance. Enraged, on the other hand, places a hard cap on the chemical effects of Valkyr, while simultaneously removing safety measures. In layman's terms, Enraged lets you hit harder, but for less time. Am I done now? Good. Now, to find somebody to clean up this mess. Closing entry.